Brussels sprouts and cauliflower, onion, fennel and cucumber, plum, pear and papaya, aubergine and saya, lime, lentils and quinoa, oatmeal bread and oatmeal flour, watercress and okra, tofu and sweet pepper.
There are many out there that don't understand what the different orientations are, what the different sexualities are, and so on. I thought of maybe explaining this a little bit to a detail, and many might wonder what it's got to do with veganism. Well, nothing really, unless you're intersectional. This will be important for a later video to give like more understanding about the topic a little bit more. But some people come out there and say, oh, there's so many different orientations and such, and I just can't keep up with them. And that's what I'm trying to fix now, because it isn't as difficult as it seems. So I will go over the most common types of sexualities and orientations, but I'm not going to go into detail about many like sub-degrees of different type of sexualities, fetishes and so on. I'm just going to go over the most common and most relevant. There's primary 4 orientations, but this is a huge discussion and many people disagree. They think that some other should be orientations and some other shouldn't be, and it's a mess. Some people call it primal orientations and some call it main orientations. But if I'm saying orientation, I'm meaning one of those 4. I'm also going chronologically, and by chronologically I mean what is most common to what is least common. The most common, without a shadow of a doubt, is heterosexuality. It means that you're attracted to the opposite sex. If you're a man, you're attracted to women. If you're a woman, you're attracted to men. Simple, easy to understand. Now, this is the most important orientation of them all, because without it, reproduction is very difficult. Not that humans has a problem with reproduction, but like, you see my point. Many people make the claim that because this is the natural thing, therefore it is good. And I don't know if natural means anything. Like, I know many different definitions of natural and people have different ideas, but if you mean have nature intended it to be, so to speak, I have no problem with agreeing with it. To call all the other orientations unnatural, I also have no problem with that. But people saying that it's wrong because it's unnatural? No, that is an appeal to nature fallacy. Just because something is unnatural doesn't mean that it's bad, or just because something is natural doesn't mean that it's good. I see no actual problem with any of the orientations. If you're heterosexual, then I'm glad to inform you, this is your flag. I identify as heterosexual myself, but I don't only identify as heterosexual, but I'll get to that later. The second most common orientation is bisexual. This means that you're attracted to both sexes. They flag under this flag, and there is a lot of people, and especially young people, and there's a huge discussion if all of the people who say they're bisexual are actually bisexual, but the numbers indicates that this is the most common thing to be, apart from heterosexual. Some bisexual would use this flag, and it's the flag of something called omnisexual. It is a type of bisexual, whereas you like all different type of gender identities in separation. So you're attracted to men, you're attracted to women, you're attracted to trans men, trans women, non-binary and so forth. It is specifically attraction to all the different type of genders, basically. That's what it means. Now, way more commonly than omnisexual is something called pansexual. And it might be the biggest branch of people who identify as bisexual. What it means that you're attracted to people. It's very similar to omnisexual, but instead of being attracted to all different gender identities in isolation, they're just attracted to people. It doesn't matter. Like, some of them have preferences, but it's not like you're attracted to this or that and this and that. Now, there are many more type of sexualities tied with bisexual, but these two are the most common. Third on the list would be homosexual. They flag under, well, used to flag under this flag, but today most people use this flag. So instead of using the pride flag that everybody uses now, many gay men use this flag and many lesbians use this flag. Of all, these are the ones that has had the most amount of discrimination towards them and illegality and so forth. Well, Bisexuals also came under this, but it was easy for them to just find a different partner and being satisfied with that were of the opposite sex. Many people try to say that this is wrong because it's unnatural, because you can't procreate and so forth, but the arguments are just too slim, honestly. And the least common, it accounts for 0.5% of the population. These are called asexual, and they're sexually attracted to no gender whatsoever. They flag under this flag and they come in many different categories, but before that, it's very important to get this across. Asexuals are the ones that is the most ignored, and in the 2000s, this was seen upon as a conspiracy theory, that people would say that it's impossible because humans has a natural instinct to reproduce. But this is getting better, but I've attended 2 prides in my life, both of them were this summer, and I don't see any flags flown with the asexual colors. It is so elusive that only until recently people didn't know that this was a thing. Now, asexuals come in very different type of people and in different sexualities that is also in a blend with other sexualities. To put it short, some asexuals have no interest in sex whatsoever. Some are repulsed by sex, and so some have no interest in sex. There are some asexuals that don't mind having sex, and you have asexuals who like having sex, but they just can't feel the attraction towards anyone, but they can like the act nevertheless. And some asexuals has a libido, and some asexual don't have a libido. And all those 3 categories are interchangeable with those 2 others. So you can be an asexual with a libido and be in all 3 categories of not liking it, being indifferent and liking it, and vice versa. Some asexuals fly under this flag, which is called autosexual. They aren't completely asexual though, whereas they can have a sexual attraction to themselves where they really enjoy spending time with themselves, masturbating or whatever. It's really that simple, really. Also, a branch between being sexual and not being sexual, one of them is called grey sexual, and they flag under this flag. They are just people who just rarely ever experience sexual attraction. They come under the umbrella of asexuality, but they are very difficult to place, really. And that's also a very simple thing to explain. Now, the most common sexuality among the asexual branch would be demisexual, and goes under this flag. I identify as a demisexual. It's basically not having any sexual attraction towards someone unless you've had a strong bond or had feelings for the person over a long period of time. And many people fall under this, but they don't know that they are demisexual. Many demisexuals fall under other types of romantic orientations and so to speak. So for example, I am hetero demisexual. I'm only attracted to women. You got people who are homosexual and demisexual, you got people who are bisexual and demisexual as well. The opposite of demisexual would be frisexual, and it's not as common. It's just really important to mention. There are some people who can experience sexual attraction, but once that they got to get with the people and start to know the person, the sexuality fades. It is a very sad branch of asexuality, but it does exist. And that's the same with demisexuals. Asexuals can also be romantic towards someone. So you got heteroromantic asexuals, you got homoromantic asexuals, you got biromantic asexuals, and you have people who also identify as panromantic, omniromantic, and so on. But many asexuals are also aromantic. And this also comes into play when it comes to other orientations, whereas you can, for example, be heterosexual, but only homoromantic, and vice versa. You can be biromantic, but only heterosexual. There are many possibilities. There are people who are only sexual, but not romantic. They're just aromantic, but they could be heterosexual, bisexual, homosexual, and so forth. Now, some people also fall under the definition of polysexual, where you're sexually attracted to multiple people and have no problem with that. Some people are polyamorous, whereas they are in different romantic relationship. You got polyamory, whereas you have different people you are in the relationship with, and so on. And all of this is also interchangeable with the different orientations and sexualities. And this is the big thing, because monosexual, which most people are, only interested in being in a relationship with one person. Polysexuality is not normatively accepted, even in the Western world. There are some Muslim countries where it's acceptable for men but not women, and so on and so forth. So I hope now that I've clarified a few things when it comes to different types of sexualities and orientations. Now, this gets really complicated once you bring in trans people. And I'm not saying this lightly, because this is a huge discussion happening at this very moment. The next video that I will bring up this topic will be some criticism to trans activists, but I felt like getting this across would be an easy segue to make clarity in that upcoming video.